Hello, everyone, and welcome to the stream. This is Otaku Showboat. Today is Sunday, December 15th, 2019. If you're watching the VOD on YouTube, don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and if you're so inclined, head on over to twitch.tv/Otaku Showboat to leave a follow to be notified when I go live Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays from 10 a.m. to approximately 1 p.m. US Eastern Time. You can do all of the social stuff. The links in the description below this video, including helping to support Pyanodon at patreon.com/Pyanodon and myself at patreon.com/OtakuShoba. You can also join my growing Discord server through the link down below. So, last time we met on Tuesday, I was not able to stream Factorio. I was having a lot of issues, and it ended up being the ISP. Cox was having trouble last week at the specific time that I usually stream on Tuesday. So we had to delay our 100th stream of Factorio to today. So what are we going to do today? Well, today is going to be all about quantum computing, but first off, I would like to note a couple of things. The first, next Sunday is my birthday. That's right, next Sunday, the 22nd of December, is my birthday, so I will be streaming. I am currently planning on streaming unless something comes up magically during that time. I should be able to stream just fine on that day, so we don't have to worry about there not being a stream. In fact, I am planning on streaming on Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday that entire week and the week after. No changes for the holidays. So yay, you'll have something to watch on Christmas Eve, as well as the day after Christmas, as well as on New Year's Eve, for the coming year, basically, for the rest of this year, quote unquote. The other thing is that the tutorial going live for Pyanodons later today is going to cover intelligent units, utility science, as well as quantum computing space science. It'll be an overview going over what you need. Basically, as soon as you get your uranium set up from the previous tutorial and are making the heavy fermion material, these are the things that you will need to do the intelligent units, utility science, space science. And I have them all, I discuss each of them separately, starting with the intelligent units, and then utility, then space. And the reason that I want to do all three of these together is that really, utility and space science, they don't require much new outside of placing buildings to make the next step of stuff. So that's why I've included all of that together. There will be more tutorials, at least two more tutorials. Well, at least one more. I have yet to decide whether or not it will be two, but I still need to cover raw coal processing and the shale oil processing. So those are going to be on their way as the next things, and I have yet to decide if I want to do them together or if I want to just do coal, the raw coal processing, and then do the shale oil. We shall see, but that'll be the tutorial that goes up on my birthday next Sunday. So just bear all of that in mind. So with that, let us load up the game, because I see that, yeah, zero dropped frames today. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's as if I have an internet connection today. Isn't that lovely? Unlike last week, or last Tuesday, where I apparently didn't have and upload speed at all. We're apparently paying for 30 megabits up, and we were only getting less than 1 last week on Tuesday at the specific time that I stream. It came back later in the day. Coffee today is my Death Wish pumpkin spice coffee, by the way. Still have some of that 12-ounce container. It's almost empty. I focused yesterday at the store to try and find the Death Wish brand of coffee, and I found it at the store. It was $20 for a 1-pound container of the standard Death Wish coffee. So I picked that up, especially considering that the pumpkin spice version that I got, yeah, that was 20 for a 12-ounce. So better price, just regular, not pumpkin spiced. So I guess something else to note going into today is that I have added a mod. I have added a mod that I made myself and have posted onto the Factorio forum. And that mod is Productive Pi. I have 17.3 on it. I haven't released 17.3 yet. It just adds 1 recipe. But what Productive Pi does is pretty much exactly what you might think it does based off of its name. It lets you do productivity modules on a lot of things that otherwise don't take productivity modules without this mod, including small parts. So let me pilfer a module here. So yeah, small parts, advanced small parts, even special small parts, even bolts, and belt, and the rubber, and the carbon black involved in the making of the rubber. That's just a few examples, but the main examples involve the production of circuits, specifically circuit 4s. So as I head up towards where I have my circuit 4s, first thing, as you may note here, so Pyanodon very recently got rid of the ability to use productivity modules on many of the steps involved in making circuit 4s. Have I? Oh, I didn't have one in there to begin with. Got rid of the productivity recipes. Like, took it away on the recipes side of things when the nano-assemblers and pulp mills in particular, he removed the ability to do productivity on a number of recipes that were done in nano-assemblers and pulp mills, but by default, currently, and I think this was a slight oversight, nano-assemblers and pulp mills don't take productivity modules as a building level limitation. So, getting rid of that on 2 fronts is a bit of an issue. Especially when all of these things should use productivity. Like, all of these things should use productivity. So my mod, I have changed the nano assemblers and the pulp mills so that they can accept productivity modules, and I have set the recipes to also take productivity modules, because it's insane that they don't and can't, in my opinion. Also, I apparently need power. Huh. Odd. That wasn't doing that previously. I guess it's, it's night. This will improve as we get into daytime. So, today, quantum computing space science is on the agenda. Off screen, between the previous full stream that we did and today, I picked up quantum computing as a tech, and a couple of the utility sciences popped as well. Oh, I also got Power Armor Mark II. I'm wearing Power Armor Mark II. I got mining machines that's what I got here. So I have access to the Mark IV building recipes. I don't think I'm really going to be making many of these. And I'm starting to get Chromium Processing 4 and the rest of these level 4 processing techs to get sintering. Not like it's going to be really required, because I will consider this base as done pretty much as soon as we get this. As soon as we get this. Now, this requires liquid helium. I did. I did bring helium over here, so I might be able to squeeze all of this in this area. Oh, also, yeah, so level 4 Mark IV chip shooters, I have them. And I have a setting enabled that is a double the module slots with tier. So instead of being 4 at Mark IV, which I think is the default, it is 8 at Mark IV. At Mark III, it's 4, when it's usually 3, and then because it doubles 4, we have 8 here at Mark IV. So it would be really nifty to do the Mark IV buildings, but the Mark IV buildings are going to just eat all of the stuff I have. I will also note that quantum computers require reinforced concrete to make, and that was one thing I had to add, was some reinforced concrete. So what do we need? Because we can just immediately start working on this right now. What do we need for space science? We need liquid helium, vacuum, in very small amounts. I can just plop a thingy down, and there's our vacuum. Congratulations. One of however many this is, 7. So 1 out of 7, done. That just leaves us with the nitrogen vacancy, the Pi Josephson, quantum dots, quantum vortex storage systems, Varphy Josephson, and liquid helium. Do I have gasoline nearby? Because I have the helium here. Where is my gasoline? I should have it. I should have it near-ish. There's methanol. Where be my gasoline? Ah, right here. Gasoline is right over here. Good. Because that just means I can put down a compressor. I think I'm going to put 2, if I can fit them, to make the liquid helium. Because this is water and gasoline, and it gives you steam. I'm just going to vent the steam, personally. Actually, I can't have that there. What am I thinking? This goes here. That. There we go. Water. Oh. All these pipes are, like, in my way. Alright, I'm gonna have to clear a lot of that. They're not necessarily required at the moment. Let's see. Water. You'll also have to excuse me today, because my hands are used to a different game's shortcuts right now. I've just bought RimWorld the other day. And and it's my first time experiencing RimWorld, so the shortcuts are a bit different, and how you like clear your current selection is a little bit different between the two games. So I'm having to get used to all of that again. The gasoline. Oh, right. Ahem. That's gonna go down there to be out of my way. Let's see. We can't do this here, but we can do this here, and we can do this here. Da 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 da. All right. To the gasoline. And then bring over the... Oh. Was this... I mean, I'll take it. I'll take it. So there's our liquid helium. Note I did not add productivity to liquid helium. That one is very much intended not to have productivity. There is good reason why this does not have productivity on it. You can end up in situations where you end up with more water. It would be net positive on water, and that's a little bit of a problem. It is an issue. Very much so an issue. So let me just bring up my notes real quick off screen here, and so that I can see what buildings I need going forward. Alright, next. So we got the liquid helium. We still need the 2 junctions, the vacancy center, the quantum dots, and the quantum vortex storage system, which is going to need Bose-Einstein superfluid. So, this is all not going to fit in here, I think. Yes, there is a nanomaterial factory required. Give me those. Thanks. I said give me those. Bring me those. What else? I need electronics factories, which I have. I need particle accelerators, which I am not carrying around with me, oddly enough. Why am I not carrying around particle accelerators? That sounds like a terrible idea. I'm gonna pick up particle accelerators. No? No Mark IIIs? Because it's intelligent units, and I didn't want to... I wanted to focus my intelligent units towards utility science rather than use it on the Mark III here. Technically, we're going to be able to make these Mark IVs as soon as I set up these quantum vortex storage systems. Yeah, because I've already got the servo mechanisms. Superconducting servo mechanisms. This is the one recipe that I need to release the next update to my mod for to Productive Pi, because this recipe I missed initially, or I guess secondarily, because I added more stuff to it in version 2. So version 3 right now only has this added to it. I want to find a few more to add, if at all possible, before releasing the next update, so that's just why. Alright, well, I guess I'll just take the Mark II. It's not going to matter for those. Let's see. Outside of that, it's 2 nanomaterial factories, particle accelerators, and electronics factories. No nano assemblers? No. No nano assemblers at all required for this. Alright. Cool. You still... Oh. You are not a Mark III. Now you are a Mark III. Alright, where am I going to put these? Probably up here. You. Those. And those. And that. And they feed. Yeah, they feed each other. 0.15, 0.15. It is a 1-to-1 without productivity, which is nifty. Have all these things. Oh, of course, this is one thing that uses the liquid helium, so now I need to route the liquid helium up to here. Yay. Get this. Oh, of course, it's there. Here. There we go. Helium! In its liquid form. And the rest of this is like, just place requester chests. And that's it. That's it, that's all. Limited by the heavy fermion, I think. And you, same thing. I'm gonna sneeze. I actually muted myself in time. Yay. Excellent when that happens. You. Request, don't need those. Grab all of these things. More biopolymer. Of course, always gonna take more biopolymer. So that's that. That leaves the 2 junctions, the dots, and the nitrogen vacancy center. So we need space for stuffs and things. The 2 that are in electronics factories, I guess I'll do first, because these just tuck right in. That would be the Varfi Josephson and the Pi Josephson. Oh, I guess I need a provider as well up there. Excuse me. There we go. So, we have all of these, just for reference, and we've got all of this just for reference again. All of this stuff: the paramagnetic, Nexlet silver, nanocrystalline cores, cobalt, chromium alloy, chromium cobalt, graphene rolls, plates for niobium. Yeah, got all the things. Trust me. If it's not being delivered right now, it's just because we're bottlenecked on it, not that we don't have the capability to make it. We have the infrastructure. It's just feeding the infrastructure that's going to be the biggest problem here. And that just leaves 2 glorious particle accelerators that need to be placed. They're about this big. They're about this big. The glorious particle accelerators. Yeah, sure. We'll fit them wherever I can. For quantum dots and nitrogen vacancy centers. So the nitrogen vacancy, diamonds, paramagnetic stuff. Stuff I have. From utility science and it's circuit 4s, intelligent units. So all of these glorious things. Technically, this is the first time we need harmonic absorbers as well, but I made harmonic absorbers already for certain buildings. Made them for buildings, so don't have to worry about that. Already set it up. And that leaves you. Phosphine and boric acid. Right. And etching solution. Great. This is going to be the most logistically intensive just because 3 fluids. The other stuff, though, the colloidal silica and the wafers we've got. We don't need to worry about those items so much. And I just need to make sure that I have all of these providers that I need. I'm pretty sure I need a provider here for space. Science out. Oh, another thing. By default, space science has no ability to use productivity on this recipe. Yet, the other recipe, if I have a space large enough to place another thingy, there we go. The other recipe, the one that gives you the actual science, this one, by default, you can use productivity. A whole one module of productivity in your quantum computer. It's just a little strange that it's like that. Just a little strange. So we've got power to all the things. Probably, yeah, there's my power. It's working. It's working! Oh, right, I guess I also need the requester chest to request the stuff as it's made, right? That sounds like a great idea. Alright. Phosphine, boric acid, and etching solution. Well, boric acid is here. I need to be a little careful. Alright, that worked fine. It's just this line that is slightly problematic for the phosphine. The etching... Do I have the etching here for anything? I don't think so. No. Oh, there's the boric. Oops. Well, I guess we have to... Oh, there it is. There's etching. Excellent. I just have to, like, get it over. Guess this works. And phosphine. Now, phosphine, where are you? Because I know I... Well, there's phosphorus acid. Phosphine isn't actually... I think it's not even used over here on the right side of my base. I could be wrong about that. So I will check out in this direction. And I see that I have a phosphine. Goes to the right. Let's play Follow the Pipe. Follow the pipe. It goes down from here. So this is going to meet up with my bus. Phosphine. Yeah. So this meets up with the bus, and it doesn't go anywhere else. So I have to actually bring this almost straight north. North and a little bit to the east. So I have to go from here up to here with it. Alright, let's get going. And that's space science. So congratulations, we have a remaining 2.5 hours of stream to do after this. So that I don't know what I want to do with. because this is space science. We're here. It's arrived. I can't believe that it's arrived, but it's arrived nonetheless. Let's see. Here. Oh, come on! Of course. Of course. Of course. Of course. That makes this awkward. This way. Yeah, sure, why not? We'll follow these other pipes here. Really only... Well, that's unfortunate. There. That'll do. Uh-oh. You don't go anywhere. Alright, now I have to go east. East across my stuff here. I just have to figure out exactly what line to draw. I think this line under the methanol here is the line to draw. And then the next line is up. Can't do it here because the helium is in the way, so it needs to be there. And I need to clear out some of this. Wonderful. Alright, I can get there. Where am I standing? Oh. Yeah, let's just break a few of these. They're not needed. Boom. Quantum dots! There they go. Has this made any yet? No. Product finished 0. Needs heavy fermion. Oh, we've got our Varfi Josephsons already. That's neat. I'm going to limit the chests, by the way. Just because I don't want things to get too out of hand. So, that's it. Yay. Ta-da! As it were. Oh, hey. Intelligent units. Yeah, let's grab a few of you. I like you. I like you a lot. What is limiting you, then, if not intelligent units? Kevlar? Wait, what? Kevlar. You are limited by Kevlar. Deliver 15. Still says 15. Alright, I guess I'm limited by Kevlar. On my production of utility science. No wonder why I have stuff going into the other things right now. Oh, hey, yeah. Quantum dots! Non-zero. Non-zero quantum dots. Still with this heavy fermion. What is limiting my heavy fermion? Absolutely nothing. It's just I'm using more of it than I am producing. It is producing as fast as I am able to make 70% uranium, which is why I would like to double this, if at all possible. Yeah, let's double this. I think I have a blueprint. Maybe? Yeah. Hello, blueprint. Yeah, just do that. I need to pipe the sulfuric acid and water properly, but yeah, it's actually surprisingly not that resource intensive to process uranium to 70% because it doesn't have as many outside inputs as most other things. The only real thing here is the sulfuric acid and the iron dust. Yeah, the iron dust is the are the two things with the sulfuric. So, the other thing to do, well, we've got the space science, obviously. We need to get it to the science line. Need to actually physically get it down to the science down here, which is going to need another thingy. Oh, hey, there's some utility science coming in to my science line. Yay! It's I like seeing that. We're doing science in a whole 3 labs out of 10. It's glorious. Absolutely glorious. Alright. Also, the base is, like, slowly growing. I want to, like, throw that out there. My grid is growing, at the very least, if not anything in the grid. I'm growing my grid by landfilling a whole bunch of stuff in this lake that's in my way. Just don't mind me. I guess that's something we can do today, is a general tour of the base. That would be ideal, I think, considering we have gotten to that point where space science is being made. We're not launching rockets, mind you. I don't have the techs to launch the rockets, but I do have the techs to get space science through quantum computing. If I wanted to actually launch rockets, I would need to pick up these 2 techs to get the space science from the launching of the rockets. Which, yeah, 3,000 units of utility science, that's gonna take a while. That's gonna take a little while. 3,000 total units of that stuff. Yeah, no. No. That sounds like a terrible idea. Thanks, but no thanks. Alright. I need, similar to how I've done here, so there's a requester chest for the 2 sciences there. I'm going to need to do the same thing somewhere else that's free. A free line. Which, I don't know what I would consider a free line. Is this actually a free line? Whizzing down the thingy. It's technically, I mean, there's this double up, but it's no longer required, so I think I'll do that. Excellent. This makes things significantly easier. So this is going to request any glorious space science that we produce. It'll be output, and then down we go. With the wonderful, extreme, fast underground belts. Thanks to the wonderful power of the Ultimate Transport Belts mod. And this will just save on the number of Logibots required to do this. It makes no sense to make them fly from one end of my base to the other just to deliver space science, or any science for that matter. That's why I'm doing this way. Just need to be a little bit careful for stuff. Oh, right, by the way. So I have 6 exoskeletons right now, and 2 portable fusion reactors. That's one of... Oh, hi! That's one of the things I did off screen. Hello, tech. What do I want next? No. No. Bad. Better. Yes. Yes. Absolutely yes. Glycerol. Glycerol! Olefins good too, but glycerol! From Tholins, yes, 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 that thing. That thing is very nice. Too bad you've beaten the game by the time you get there. Cough, cough. Personally, I think that hydrogen peroxide should also be included there. Just, you know, point of interest. I think that Tholin's Mark IV should also unlock hydrogen peroxide as a Tholin recipe. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Because that stuff is a pain in the rear end. Massive pain in the rear end. Like, incredibly massive. Remembering that this line here isn't actually being used for anything. Almost there. Almost there. Past it. Yes, almost. So almost that I went right past where I was going. Ah, joy. So it comes out here. I need to add more inserters. I shouldn't use this belt. I should use red. The reason for that is that the extreme fast belt is too fast for vanilla inserters to actually grab stuff until it reaches like the end. So what I would end up with is having to wait for everything else to the bottom to get to the bottom from these other lines. So I'd end up in a situation where I've got utility science in these top labs and then space science down at the bottom without utility science until all of them from the top fills to the bottom, and then the only ones that would be working would probably be like these last two, like these two here would be the ones that would be working if I had left the extreme fast belt there as it was. So that's the logistics done on the space science, I'm pretty sure. So that's quantum computing space science, technically done. It's just everything from here is just expanding what I already have. There's not really anything left new. Besides, like, you know, Mark IV stuff, level 3 modules, that kind of thing. And it's all just increasing the total output of science now. That's all that is left, is just output of science, increasing the output of science. We have officially defeated Pyanodon's mods in this playthrough. It's been 100 streams and quite a lot of off-stream playtime. 337 hours of in-game time. I don't think I did any ×2 game speed during this. Not like I even can do ×2 game speed on here. I've defeated it in theory. I've made it. I've got the space science infrastructure now. It's just waiting until it actually makes the first space science. All of the infrastructure is there, and thank you, Pyanodon, for the congratulations. Yes, it's here. The quantum computer has been placed with all of the buildings that can feed it. That is all. That is done now. So I've got the quantum computer here. After manually adding productivity to this particular recipe when the other recipe has productivity by default. Cough, cough. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Also, really? One module slot, Pyanodon. One. On a quantum computer. One. Joy. So yeah, the quantum dots are fine. It's the heavy fermion that's, I think, the limiting factor. And the diamagnetic, which is... Oh, and the harmonics. Okay. And the harmonics. I'm trying to think, what else uses the harmonics? I think the harmonics were used for the level 4 chip shooter machines. So do I have any sitting here? Yeah, I do. Because of course I do. Because of course I do. I have a couple. Any others in here? Whoa, hold up. Hello. Hello, heavy fermion material. Nice to see you. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, let's just steal all of that glorious stuff. What about you? No. No, that's all fine. Some of these, I think. Yeah, I've got centrifugal pans. There's more heavy fermion. It was you. You had those, but I've already pilfered them as best as possible. I have Mark III gas processing units. Yay. I can make Mark IVs of all of these things, by the way. Where's the GPU? Right there. I don't have wall shields. Alright. What is that made in? Not that, I think. Wall shields. Excuse me. You? Nope. Wall shields. Foundries. Okay. Would not have guessed. Foundries. Oh, you do all of those. I see. But we've got all of that. So, well, hey, guess what? In theory... Wall shields. Wall shields! I have them now, I guess. Technically. So I guess I technically have those. What's next? Oh, right, this needed to go, like, there. Oops. Anyway. You can be that. Yeah, sure. Do I have these things? I do. Yes. How about these things? Yeah, technically got those. How about, these things? Jigs. Yeah, that's pretty simple. I got that. Compressor? Yeah, got that now. How about we actually just look at these for here? Centrifugal pan. Yeah, got all that. Got all that for the, screeners. That's actually... That's not as bad of a recipe as the previous one, to be honest, because the Mark III screeners uses NEMS. That's the limiting factor on the Mark III screeners. The Mark IVs, yes, it's the superconductor servo mechanisms, which also use the nano-electrical-mechanical systems, but if you've gotten rid of your bottleneck of the NEMS, you inherently have gotten rid of most of the bottleneck on the servo mechanisms, so that's fine too. This, yeah, can do that too, especially now with the wall shields. Everything else is fine there. Yeah, all that. It's nothing new. Nothing new. Nothing new there. Nothing new there. Just noting that if you do try to get Mark IV stuff first, by the time you have everything for the Mark IV stuff, you'll have everything to just place the quantum computer, it seems like, outside of the liquid helium, which is intentional. Just that is intentional. Now, the Mark IV of the high-tech stuff, yeah, we've got all of that being made. I did the low densities off screen. Clearly, I got low density structures off screen. Just, quite clearly. That was a thing that I did. But yeah, all of the the Mark IV stuff here can be made. How about the standard Mark IVs? Yeah, that's fine. That's fine as well. Nextlit powered accumulator Mark 1? Really? Okay. I am making them, so sure. The wood Mark IV, yeah, can do that. Can do... Ooh, asphalt. I'm actually making asphalt. I am actually making asphalt. So that's fine too. I could do that. What else is in here that's like random that I probably don't already have? Got all of those. All of that. Again with the Nextlit accumulator. Uh, hmm. Yeah, that all looks fine. How about the FTS? FTS is fine. 8,000 L tanks, I know I have. Yeah, outside of the wall shields that I just put up, I think everything is fine now. Pretty sure I've got all of this, yeah? Even regular concrete. Let's see. Anything to throw us off? I don't think so. Yeah, so I could just go down the line and add all of those Mark IV buildings at this point. I've also inherently gotten all the things for the Mark IIIs. Just another point of reference. How about the botanical nurseries? Yeah, that's fine. The sand extractors are fine. The crystal mines. Why anyone goes past Mark 1 on the crystal mines is, I don't know. I don't know why one would do that. Makes better use of the space that they consume. Also, why do we have Mark 1 through 4 crystal mines, but not Mark 1 through 4 mining drills? Like, of all of the miners? You're kind enough to give us the crystal mines up to Mark 4, but what about the other mines? There's a bunch of other mines that could also have Mark 1 through 4, but they don't. But they do not, like this niobium mine. Just example, niobium mine sitting right there. That would be interesting. And then how about you? Yeah, we've got the things. All the things. Now, you. Pi raw ores. We've got raw ores and petroleum handling to look at still. So raw ores. Yeah, got that stuff. That stuff. That stuff. Also the center unit. I can technically make the center units in the legit way at this point. We'll ignore the fact that I have like 80, 90, 100 plus units of center unit laying around from before the recipe was nerfed. Slash made in line with where it exists at Mark IV stuff. Uh, yeah, we've got all this, all of this. Nothing's like screaming out at me as I'm new here. Outside of these wall shields that I just made. So yeah, all of that is done, and that just leaves you. I don't have you yet. We're working on it. We're working on it. So what about you? Got all of that. Got all of that, and then the oil machines for very, very similar. Nothing is screaming at me that it's new here. Interesting. All right. Well, there's still technically fracking that one could do. I don't feel like doing that. Let's see. There was also something rather important that I wanted to at least try, and that was this. So, yeah, no, do not request that many things. Thanks. Thanks, but no. That is more than what this box can carry. Come on, there you go. Now you've done it. Good. It's exactly 12. Cool. Because this gives you Keragen. The retorter gives you Keragen. Now let me explain the beauty and wonder of Keragen. So, Keragen, it consumes stuff, super steel, super alloy, or drill heads, to give you a lot of Keragen. Well, what do you use Keragen for? Keragen can just directly make you shale oil. For example, by adding fuel rods to it, but still free. You can just directly turn Keragen into gasoline by adding hot air and water. Like, okay, like, holy crap, that's an amazing gasoline recipe, considering, like, you can basically convert your drill heads into gas in this way. Crude oil, just straight up crude oil. It's not that great of a ratio, but crude oil and natural gas out of it. So Kerogen for the gasoline in particular is just amazing to use. It's just sad that it takes so long to get access to Kerogen. This is tier 3 stuff, uh, going into tier 4 with intelligent units. So yeah, it's a lot to make the actual building itself to do that, and then just to bring up again the shale oil as well. Like shale oil, there's recipes to convert it. I don't use nichrome. It can be used to make a lot of stuff. Actually, uh, a lot of recipes that I would otherwise not recommend. I mean, hey, look, shale oil directly into fuel oil 1-to-1. If you ever want fuel oil, you can make it like really easily into light oil. Just water and vacuum, like suddenly light oil. So you can basically convert kerogen into light oil. Like, really? Light oil can feed your processing of chromium. You can do kerogen based light oil via shale oil to make your or to do your reduction processing of chromium, for example. So there's that. Then naphtha as well as natural gas here. Naphtha is like also useful because you can convert it into diesel, you can convert it into petroleum. You can convert it into tall oil and then tall to gas, but it's a bit of a waste. Bit of a waste. And then you can convert it into hydrogen as a 1-to-3 by adding steam to it. I think that might actually be somewhat useful if only hydrogen wasn't just completely free out of splitting water in it. Chromium into... That's not an insignificant amount of syngas. That is not an insignificant amount of syngas for the naphtha. And considering how easy it is to get chromium, like, really? Like, okay. So then, and that's a 1-to-1, just add water? So that's a 1-to-1 kerogen? Eh. Eh. It just gets me thinking a lot for the shale oil side of things. But I think the main thing is the gasoline. That's the main attractant is the gasoline there. So you needed heavy fermion. Products finished 2. Alright. So we're waiting on the vacancy, center, and the Pi Josephson. You haven't happened to craft anything yet. Nope. Diamagnetic and harmonic absorbers. How many? 1. Alright, well, here's 2. Here's 2 for you. And this one. Diamagnetic. Alright. Do I have anything that's just sitting around with diamagnetic? I don't think it's any of this stuff, because diamagnetic, again, is one of those things that is only first used here in space science, so it would be buildings that would be carrying around the diamagnetic at this point in time. Looking for that green stuff. Looking for that green stuff. Actually, it would have been in other, I think, Mark 3s? The easy way. Oh, okay. High-tech bots. That explains it. That explains it. High-tech bots. And I don't think among the mess over here that I've done any of the Mark IIIs that use it either. Let me see if I can find my... No, none of those. Where's the... Foundries? Where's the advanced foundries? I don't know. I don't know, they're lost. They're missing. They're somewhere. Also, I have a few combustion towers, Mark IIIs. Just a few of them laying around. Don't mind them, they're just sitting, resting comfortably. No, really, where's my... Where be my advanced foundries again? Oh, up there. Hi. 7. There, that's a good number. That's a good number. Let's take these. Used in 2 spots up here. Let's see, it was... you and you. They're moving! They're alive! Let's see, how many of these? 1 of each. Alright. Are you ready? I know I'm ready. As that crafts another one too. Alright, cool. This will craft another one as well. Yay. Nitrogen vacancy. Hi, Josephson. Here we go. Here we go. Come on. Come on, bots. Bots. Bots, please. There. Do the thing, the glorious thing. It will take forever and ever and ever. I could make it go faster, but it doesn't really matter. Take those and put them in places that are actually of value, please, my bots. Actually, I can just Shift C and send it to wonderful places. Well, this will take a while. Coffee time. Beautiful. It's moving. It's moving. Isn't it pretty? It's moving. It glows. Yeah, that takes a while. Go faster. Just so that I can say the thing. I want to speak the words. And, you know, screenshot this for all of time. Ahem. Space science, non-zero space science has occurred. It has happened. The non-zero amounts of space science has happened. Huzzah. Through particle acceleration, it is official. It is official. The quantum computing of space science has happened. So now I can safely say that I have completed Pyanodon's mods. Granted, with a few edits to the mod set, but yeah, it's a thing. We did it. Did it with a few productivity edits, and that's about it, really. Like the biggest balance change that was made to the Pi Suite during this playthrough that I did eventually incorporate was the change in the ground borers from using lubricant and coal gas across the board into using drilling fluids 1, 2, and 3, as well as whatever fluid is required to mine the material. That was a massive change. I made and distributed a mod to revert it back called Pi Borer Reversion, so that I could prepare my base for that change, and it eventually did turn off Pi Borer Reversion, and started doing things the quote-unquote intended way for that. So, this is a quantum computing space science base without a single unit of rail and no trains. No trains, no rails, just bots and belts. Bots and belts in this entire base, and it's made space science. And is currently making utility science, for that matter. Could it be done better? Yes. This was my first time going into the Pyanodon's endgame. And really my first experience with, like, this scale of building in Factorio, as well as my first experience at, like, this scale of bots and using bots at this scale. Still haven't done that with Rails, though. I really don't want to do that with Rails. I hate Rails. Just for reference, I don't like Rails. And trains, and dealing with trains. I don't see the point, really. I really don't see the point. There's a certain scale where it is useful, but anything below that, it's really not. I think people overuse trains most of the time, and don't really use them when they need to be used. Like, for example, what would be a good train for this base? What would be a train? Like, how would I do this? If there was a resource that I couldn't otherwise get anywhere else, such as if I wanted to, say, grab stone, well, and process it way up here. For some reason, if I wasn't able to process it into what I needed down locally, and I needed it way up here, yeah, maybe a train would be fine for that. But only if I need the throughput that provides. How far till rocket? Well, considering I have non-zero space science, you don't need to do rockets. That is not the end game. Rockets are not the end game. Rockets are just a different way of spending your resources. It's heavier on the raw resources, apparently, and this is apparently the quantum computing is just focused a bit more on the biotics side of things, primarily in the form of the biopolymer that gets used for it. But rockets they're very heavy on the raw materials, very specifically in circuit 3s, the production of circuit 3s, because that is an insane amount. That you'll need a lot of circuits for those. And as for how far until rockets, well, this base wouldn't be capable of rockets until 3,000 units of utility science later to pick up rocket silos and space science packs. 3,000 units of utility science later. And then the timing here, 60 seconds per cycle times 1,000, and then the same amount of time here. So a while till rockets, till the base would be capable of rockets and get like the formal end game screen for launching a rocket. But what's the point? We're getting space science through quantum computing. I will note that the other recipe in the quantum computer has its weaknesses. So this recipe is nearly identical to the space science recipe. It gives you 3 of everything but utility science and space science at the cost of less quantum dots versus the space science. This is 1 quantum dot. The space science is like 4. This is still more resource intensive of a recipe to do than making each of these science packs individually. Like, this costs you more to make these science packs to do this recipe. And this gives you 3 of each of these. Well, a lot of these techs at this stage, I think it's mostly the Pi high-tech stuff, have different values. Like here. These aren't part of the Pi suite, but there are techs that will have different amounts of each of the science, so you have to pay very close attention because you can end up with situations where you end up having an unequal demand on your science, depending on what techs you have and haven't taken yet by the time you get there. Otherwise, I think it's time to just do a base tour, go through all of the things, like where it began and how it progressed. So that'll be what we do, and I need to decide what we are going to do next week as well. Not only next stream on Tuesday, but next Sunday, because next Sunday is my birthday. And I will be streaming on that day, and I need to decide, well, what are we going to do that's, like, special on that day, because I am pretty fresh out of ideas, at least on this playthrough, and we're still some time away from Pi Alien Life. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Pyanodon. We're still some time away from Alien Life, aren't we? So, since I can't do that on my birthday, hint, hint, we have to figure out some other shenaniganry to work with in Factorio, because I don't think I'll be starting a fresh campaign until after Pi Alien Life is with us and balanced. Well, that'll take like months, right? So maybe we can play a full game without Alien Life, and by the time we're done with that, maybe it'll be actually ready for consumption. Let's just do another 100-part series, and maybe it'll be ready and balanced for consumption by then. Just a thought. Part of me wants to do Pi block. Part of me also does not ever want to do a Pi block, because it's incredibly slow-paced at the beginning, and I don't like slow pace. Part of me is also like, just play through the game with the resources cranked to as high of resource density as possible and never have to worry about ground boring. Like, okay, but that's basically what I did here, just without ground boring. It would go faster, things would go faster and I could build at a bigger scale. So that it would need to come with the caveat that we would be building at a much bigger scale. In which I have a computer that is, for lack of a better word, good, perhaps beyond good, for my computer, and this is the performance on this base. And it was ticking under 60, like, before I even really started doing the robots. So heading out in this direction. Where did it all begin? It all began way back here. This was the starting area, right down here. So we began the game here. We ended the game way up here, but the game started like right down here. And in those initial streams, you know, just trying to set up automated red science. So the initial burners, a lot of this is all gone now, but we do have a few traces of what things looked like initially. This never changed. This never changed in the entire playthrough. The processing and making of stone bricks right here. So I've had this the entire game, and I've never needed more than this. Excellent. Once out of the stone furnaces, it went into the advanced foundry phase. Most of that is also gone at this point, but still... and I've actually started doing this again to get more duralumin than what this was producing for me. Anyuzel. Up here is borax. We've got borax processing. This is the full extent of the initial borax processing into diborane and boric acid as well. Oh, the times from early game that I just did not realize. You shouldn't just bus boric acid. Bus the diborane, make the boric acid locally. This was also before I started using water wells, the deep water wells. So all of this is actually sourced from offshore pumps for the water. What else what else did I not do at the very beginning? I didn't use nanobots at the start either, which was another one of those decisions that I was like, yeah, I shouldn't have done that. I should have used the nanobots from the very beginning. Let's see. The initial iron I migrated before I got tapped out. The copper, this is all that was left of the original copper when I migrated up to here. Still have these from this copper patch, but I managed to transition away from this over to here. And this copper patch, which was a lot denser of a copper patch, now I'm getting my copper out of a mega mine. So here's the copper mega mine. Oh yeah, that I didn't show like what I actually had done off screen. Yeah, so zinc mega mine exists from the previous stream going into this stream as part of the off-screen work. I expanded the base up here. I added the zinc megamine. So it's doing its thing. I also technically added an iron megamine, but I'm not actually doing anything with this iron right now. This is just a box of ore at this point. I really don't have much need for the ground bored iron for this. An 82 mil rock that would last basically forever, and I'm not doing anything with it. Also, anything with the black square is what was added off screen. So I expanded. I expanded the chromite sand from rich dust from soil, basically, and processing that into molten via chromite sand reduction. So basically, getting a whole bunch of molten out of doing chromite sand reduction by getting the chromite sand out of soil. It's weird, it's awkward, but it's free. I brought in some extra light oil for these 3 that are doing it here because we need a lot, and I mean a lot of chromium and molten chrome for nichrome. We need a lot of nichrome. In fact, I am currently limited again on nichrome. There was a brief period of time where I had a full chest of nichrome, but yeah, that went away as I was killing bottlenecks. Anyway, so yeah, I began down here. We've got some of phosphate processing that's dead because all of the phosphate rocks are gone. All of this is dead. This is almost dead for the iron processing. Had to go down here to get iron. Spent most of the time on 30 iron ore per second on this base initially, before ground boring a heck of a lot more than that. Got aluminium processing here, steel, super steel, concrete, initial aramid, ferrochromium alloy, lots of it. The unslimed iron processing chain is over here. And then starting to go down the bus. Some of the aluminium here, the pulp 2 is produced here. Graphite. Mushrooms. Initial line of mushrooms. Initial setups for wood. Very cramped. Shouldn't have built this cramped. Some red hot coke. Got that in different locations much better. This is my setup for a belt-based small parts. I made this. I am somewhat proud of this. But yeah, so that's just sat there this whole time. And it is now 11:30, which means it is time to take a brief break. I will be back and we will talk about everything that went on. I'll just follow the bus, talk about what's going on. Speaking of better Red Hot Coke, better Red Hot Coke out of shrooms, Coke processing. This is for yellow belts, 60 per second out for reference. For reference, and it all goes into here, and then it goes out and up. This helps feed my main part of the base, along with the identical setup out here. Anyway, I will be back, and we will continue from the small parts. I will be back shortly. And I have returned. So, we left off with the small parts area. Noting that I also over here am making the wonderful and glorious medium electric poles. Those took a while before I started making those. A little too long, actually, to start making these. Don't know why it took me so long to actually make these, but it took a while. It took a while. I was learning. Okay? I was learning the mod suite. If I start again, there are a number of things that I would do quite differently from the very beginning. First off, just like more space between all this, A. B, double-sided on the mushrooms. Don't do one-sided like this. Just no. I seemed to like doing this early on and just having one side and did funky outputs because I chose not to do Bob's adjustable inserters for this. Yeah, I would definitely more width devoted to a lot of these things would have been fantastic. Would have been absolutely fantastic. So we've got the initial belts. Took a long time before finally setting up red belts, by the way. The science here still being sciencey, doing its wonderful thing. Initial red science automation was placed right here. We've got the initial engine units, which I never bust engine units, I think, in this entire game. This entire playthrough, I never bust the engine units, I just stored them. Converting some mushrooms into coal, and then these get converted to coke down the line. Initial acetylene was a pain in the rear. I had lots of complaints about acetylene. Acetylene in the early game, I contend, is rather difficult, but if you have enough mushroom farms, you can make enough coke for this just fine out of the mushroom farms. Let's just build more mushroom farms. That's like my number one piece of advice in the mod suite in its current state before Alien Life is build more mushroom farms. If in doubt, more mushroom farms is, generally speaking, the answer. Just almost always the answer is just more mushroom farms. Let's see. This was initial foray into powerhouses and doing combustion turbine-based power. Got creosote here going. I'm actually using the aromatics here. This is active and moving. I had / have a set of tar patches. It was around this time. Yes, never enough mushrooms. You will never have enough mushrooms because mushrooms is coal, is coke, is power, is acetylene, is a lot of wonderful things. A lot of wonderful things. Mushrooms is coal. Coal is everything, pretty much. So, yeah. It was at this point that Pyanodon was around, initially, and started very much complaining about the quality of the map that I got. Because I was lacking nothing on this map. And to this day, it's like, there's nothing lacking on this map. This map, by the way, as generated, was standard settings with RSO, Resource Spawner Overhaul. Just standard. No increased amounts, no increased density, no increased frequency, no increased size. It was all default for this particular map. Everything on default. And yeah, I got absolutely everything, including sulfur, including salt, including even like lots of tar, lots of oil, and yeah, Pyanodon hated this map. absolutely hated this map. Because it's just so good. It's so good, but it lacks density on a lot of the stuff, which is why I decided, you know what, we're just going to ground bore all the things. All of the things shall be ground bored. Now it's here, as of this clay, that work began on circuit 1s. As of this clay, work began on circuits and automating circuits. The hydrogen chloride here was added later, but just to note that from here until basically the turn in the bus, it's all circuits. So all this kickalc, all this urea, cyanic acid, melamine, these moondrop greenhouses making methane, the melamine resin, this exists specifically for the stuff. Sodium hydroxide. Yes, that's the word. Treated wood, fiberboard, formica, PCB 1, ceramics, graphite, vacuum tubes, resistor ones, capacitor ones, inductor ones, all that glorious stuff, all for circuits. The initial set of circuits that has grown over time. And as I was doing my turn in the bus, I started automating some rather important stuff. Including nanobots, because it was around a little bit after this point, actually, that I finally added nanobots. So, like, everything, including the initial circuit 1s, I finally added nanobots. Any nukes? No, I don't have nuke tech. And we're also playing without biters, because they are not a fun game mechanic. Period. They are not a fun game mechanic. They shouldn't even exist at all. But anyway, going on from here, I did a turn in my bus. My bus has this nice kink in it with a little weirdness here. So right here, there was salt mines. There were salt mines right in here. There are no longer salt mines right in here. I wonder what happened there. And then the turn. I turned my bus because I didn't want to cover this chromium patch. And I wanted to demonstrate how to turn your bus. And I think I had explored out this way and I saw that there was water out here. So I was like, okay, we'll turn the bus, we'll avoid this water, and we'll be able to tap this chromium. I'm getting salt through other means. Salt is completely free. For reference, you don't need to mine salt at all. Remember when I said that there's never enough mushrooms? I really did mean that there's never enough mushrooms, because convert the mushrooms into coal, and then do the DDC, the destructive distillation column recipe. I need to find this. So, mushrooms, coal, destructive distillation columns, making the coal gas with coke and tar. The goal here is tar, and you're converting the coke as well into more tar. How did that go away? You're converting the coal and the coke here into tar, and like venting the excess of the coal gas. You can use the coal gas, but vent the excess to make sure that you're always producing tar. From there, as soon as you do need to have quenching towers, so you do need to get to green science first to do this in this way, and you will need salt to get into green science. So you'll need to figure out the way that you want to get your initial saline water to get into circuits and green science and all that good stuff. But anyway, once you do get access to quenching towers, there is a quenching tower recipe. There's 2 quenching tower recipes that convert tar into iron and copper, and then the other one is niobium and borax. You're not doing this for either of that. You're doing this because this recipe can basically converts tar into tailings, saline water, and flue gas. So what is the true power of this recipe? The true power of this recipe is you've got tailings, and tailings are used for Nexilate, and tailings dust that you can convert into more iron and copper, and coal dust, by the way. You can convert your flue gas into ash, and you get saline water that you can evaporate into salt, or use as is. It's the primary method that you will use to get saline water, is mushrooms into coal. Mushrooms into coal, and then coal into tar into saline. So that's why I say it's okay to run out of the salt patches. I just made use of them until they went away. I went through a lot of salt patches before setting that up initially, but had I known the power of that recipe ahead of time, I would have set that up a lot earlier to get primary sources of saline and such, because that, frankly, is like the way to truly do your saline and salt, especially with the amounts that need to be consumed during the game. I played around a little bit with using fuel oil for combustion towers. It's not actually that great. Is mushroom to coal better than logs to coal? At the time that I did my testing, yes. Because at the time, the Mark 1 through 4 botanical nurseries did not have module slots. But they do now. So, yes, I think that the logs are technically better than the mushrooms, because the botanical nurseries now have module slots. And we only have the Mark 1 version of the mushrooms. So, yes, you can do... And part of the intention going forward with Pi Alien Life is to do this out of wood. Anyway, the Faugi is going to be for other uses, and I think Pyanodon wants the transition to be wood to coal rather than mushrooms to coal. So yes, I expect that going forward. That's just what I got used to. This is a simpler setup to do mushrooms into coal. It's a lot simpler because the wood process has that extra step. The wood process has the extra step. You go logs to wood to coal rather than just mushrooms to coal. Granted, with now the botanical nurseries also having access to module slots, as far as I'm aware, they do now. And they didn't used to, they become more space efficient if you are using speed modules, which would be the module of choice for those, by the way, speed modules. Anyway, all of this stuff here, most of this stuff here. So I talked about how I wanted to tap this patch of chromium, right? Well, you may notice I chose to do my chromium ground boring on my chromium. Yeah, so when I set up chromium ground boring, I ended up just putting it on my chromium. This was my first ground boring that I did, I think, or something like that. It was my part of my initial ground boring setups were to do this, and I just did it here because I had initial processing of chromium set up around here as well. I had the initial foundries doing the chromium out down here, so I figured, you know what, if I'm gonna just do ground boring for the ore, I may as well do it where I have the processing, right? And the processing was here. And eventually this evolved into the Pyrot ores full processing through G3, G3, G4, G4. So up to grade 4 chromium into chromite sand is what is here. Is ground bore better than mining? Ground bore is infinite. Ground boring is infinite. You will never have to move your ground borers. That is the benefit of the ground borers. Mining will consume the ore patch. Ground boring does not consume ore patches. I can place these anywhere on the map. And as long as I feed them with drill heads, syngas, and drilling fluid 2, they will mine whatever resource it is. Or they will give you whatever resource it is. These are basically assembling machines that give you ore. That's the best way and most accurate way of describing them. These are assembling machines that give you ore. And at the time I first set this up, they did not require syngas and drilling fluid 2. They required coal gas and lubricant initially. And that was like that across the board. Yes, ore assemblers. That's all they technically are. And they'll do this forever as long as you feed them drill heads, syngas, drilling fluid 2. Now, getting these infinitely, I will note, so drill heads. Drill heads are iron, steel, and chromium. Steel is just iron. So iron and chromium. Well, this produces way more chromium than the chromium used in drill heads, and even the amount of iron that you get out of ground boring iron is way more than enough iron and steel than it takes to get the drill heads for them, for these processes. So this is self-perpetuating as long as you have the power for it to get the drill heads for this. Syngas, very similarly, completely free when doing biotic-based coal into tar and coal gas. Turn the coal gas to syngas. It's the drilling fluid 2 that's a bit more complex, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that when we get to the actual full bot-based base. I'll explain more about the drilling fluids. Let's see. Nitrobenzene was added later as part of the Circuit 2 chain. It's pretty simple. Same. I don't know why I'm doing this for plastic. This is an interesting interesting recipe to make plastic, but the vanilla recipe is also fine. The vanilla recipe converting the petroleum gas is fine for plastic. So from here, the Relesia up is part of green science. So from here, it's green science. So it starts with flowers, beautiful Relesia, with soil, going into bone meal, literally killing horses. Literally killing horses here for bone meal. Rubber. Rubber itself is required not for the green science chain itself, it is required for a very specific... Well, it is required for the green science chain itself, but in order to do rubber... This is my point. In order to do rubber, because it is required for green science, you need chromium. You need chromium. This stuff, the chromium plates, to make the Mark I heavy oil refinery to make rubber. Mark I heavy oil refinery, if I can find it, right here, requires chromium. So you need chromium to get to green science. This is why chromium actually was recently added as a starting zone resource, because it is required to get to green science. Because it's used in that heavy oil refinery and it's needed to make rubber. Rubber out of polybutadiene and a lot of other things. Now, the recipe I'm doing here, this is not the initial recipe for rubber. This is a recipe that adds in organic solvent that I'm just making here to feed this. This is not my primary source of rubber anymore. Green science also requires rich clay, so I decided let's make rich clay out of tar. This is like the most convenient at this point in the game method of making the rich clay at green science. Most convenient method is right here. Also, we'll get to niobium, because niobium is after green science. Boron trioxide, boric acid, and coke. Optical sets, boron trioxide, and glass. So this is where I will mention that the initial glass setup was out here, ended up out here, I should say. Initial glass, of course, was in the starting area, but yeah, sort of mined that out. But yeah, the glass ended up out here. Here is glass. Glass went through various stages of production. Currently, it's this out here from purified quartz. Alright, the lab instruments, which, by the way, Pyanodon, you set lab instruments to eventually need circuits. So this is coming. This is coming. Lab instruments will eventually need circuits. I'm pretty sure this is a change that is made in the code, but it was never released. It's been sitting there for weeks and weeks and weeks at this point, and it never got released. So I've been sitting here. I put circuits in to this, and it was never actually released. It's like, okay, that's a change that's coming. Equipment chassis duralumin. So I had to set up duralumin, which is copper and aluminium. Aluminium. Initially was, I don't even remember. It was here. This was my initial aluminium processing. And titanium to these. And titanium to these. And titanium. Alright, I'm ready. I am ready. Is that change coming in Alien Life? It should be, if not sooner. So basically the intention is that you'll have to set up your circuits before you set up green science. That sort of, it forces you to do circuits before green science, primarily, and apparently also some titanium before the thing. Nextlit should be after green science, because I don't think you can even do Nextlit before. So yeah, that should be fine. Let's see, release it into seeds, into biological samples, into alien samples, into green science. So there's the green science, and there's the new the new icons, sprites for the lab instruments, all the random lab instruments now, for those sprites. Oh yeah, I totally added this much later for more Falgi substrate. So basically from here up for like the rest of the bus, what are those new belt types? This belt right here. This belt is the Ultimate Transport Belts mod / Ultimate Belts. But they've been reskinned through a separate mod. Where is this? So yeah, this is Ultimate Belts with Ultimate Belts Ooshima and Penkeiko mod. The Ooshima and Penkeiko mod for Ultimate Belts. What this combined mod does is adjusts the speed of the Ultimate Belts to be even higher. Adjusts the recipes somewhat by removing the blue belt requirements on each phase, each step, and it reskins them to look different from the original, because the original Ultimate Belts mod was made before the changes to underground belts, so it still had sprites that was like old pre-change to the undergrounds. They were more blocky than they are now. Now the vanilla undergrounds are more curved. They're curved, and they used to be like squared off. Note the chevron direction is the direction of the underground belt, in case you never noticed that. Yeah, they still look like 0.16, and now they look like 0.17, pretty much. So, note the direction of the chevron is the direction of the underground. One of those neat little things that I think a lot of people miss with the with all undergrounds. So from here up is Circuit 2s. With Circuit 2s comes niobium processing as well. So here's niobium being made, as well as my better tin processing, zinc processing, initial zinc processing, stone wool production, rare earth oxide production, initial rare earth oxide, molybdenum mining, the setup for the copper and titanium, and coke. Lots of coke. Lots of coke is required for this. And then down here, all of this mess, we've got nickel, some initial nickel processing, and then down here is cermet. All of these, like all of this, is like just Circuit 2s. Oh, and down here is lead with silver. Lead with silver down here for the initial silver. So, bearing that in mind, going up the bus, we've got Zipier processing. Why Zipier processing? Blood. Short answer, blood. For blood meal. Blood for blood meal, because that is being used for nylon. We've got coal water slurry fuel into benzene here, and that'll go into cumene, into phenol, because that's for some reason what I chose initially to do phenol. I don't know why I chose to do this for phenol, but there we go. And that is the initial nylon and nylon parts. I'm surprised it's still moving. Mill science. Because after I made this, I realized, hey, I actually need mill science to make laser turrets. Because you need laser turrets to do molybdenum mining. Because they're required for the molybdenum mines. So, just set up simple mill science. Lube and sulfuric acid. Why I'm doing this for sulfuric acid, I don't know. I don't know. I needed sulfuric acid for something, so sure. Sure. Batteries require rayon. That is a build in and of itself for rayon. Rayon is a pain, a massive pain. The site formerly known as sulfur, the site formerly known as for sulfur mining. Yeah, that was my initial source of sulfur for my batteries. Let's see. This is an alloy that's actually getting used. For reference. Let's see here. We've got lime. Here's aluminium. For the pulp 1. Got some solder here. Ha! The aluminium tiles. Yes. The aluminium tiles. All of this is aluminium tile, just for reference. Walking speed, 210%. 210% walking speed. My base is aluminium. Nexalit. Nexalit is required going forward. So I did Nexalit processing here. Just the clean Nexalit, which is what you could get to. Rayon! Oh boy, rayon. So, fiber from raw fiber. Got a lot of the stuff up above is what ends up feeding the rayons. Just bear in mind, rayon for the batteries. The batteries are needed for the laser turrets, by the way, for the molybdenum processing, which we'll get to. Got nitrogen. What was this nitrogen for? I don't even remember. Liquid nitrogen, I guess. Going up. Got zinc processing here for zinc chloride, for activated carbon, for filtration media. Which, yeah, filtration media. That was a build in and of itself. Initial refined syngas that I don't actually need anymore. Tholins! My first foray into tholins. Making acetylene. Why did I do this here? Because that's when I set up this mining of lead. That's what I did for the initial tholins. Let's see, a bunch of stuff that I got rid of, apparently, that I don't remember what it was. Sodium sulfate, bisulfate, etc. Wait, why do I... Okay. Sure. All into carbonate, which is what's used for the rayon. And then here is the carbonyl sulfide also for the rayon. Yay. Molybdenum processing. Molly, glorious Molly. All of this is Molly, all the way up to here, and yeah. Molly. I am totally particle accelerating my Molly right now. Got some titanium tetrachloride here. Why it's not using this, I don't know. Do that, please. Even if that slows it down. Right. This was my initial choice for gasoline. You need gasoline for liquid nitrogen, and you need liquid nitrogen to produce TPA. You need TPA for aramid. You need aramid for stainless steel. You need stainless steel because you need to build gas processing units as part of the circuit 2 chain for certain things in the circuit 2 chain. Yeah. Anyway, so we've got glass cores, we've got cladded cores, cladding, copper coating, PPD, Kevlar, also uses TPA for reference. Please. Please. I need you, Kevlar. I need you. Kevlar coating into niobium iron coating into optical fiber. Very important stuff, optical fiber. Etching solution needs lard. So I set up lard. Hydrogen peroxide, the worst in the game, I think. This is the most expensive thing in the entire mod suite. I think I'm pretty safe saying that hydrogen peroxide is the most expensive fluid in the entire mod suite to make. It is the biggest pain in the rear. Is the hydrogen peroxide, because it consumes both nickel and chromium and liquid nitrogen and a not insignificant amount of aromatics. This will eat all of your nickel and a lot of chromium, which anything that it eats nickel and chromium also eats your nichrome, because you can't make nichrome unless you have nickel and chromium. So it's like, okay, you're basically spending nichrome to make hydrogen peroxide here. And everything else as well. So, and the aromatics and the liquid nitrogen, which is also gasoline. So, yeah, this stuff is, honestly speaking, the biggest pain in the rear, and that's why I want to see it added to Tholen's Mark IV. I would love to see hydrogen peroxide sitting right here at the end of this list. How wide is that bus? I don't know. Over 100. Well over 100 wide. Each set of these is 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. What's 18 times 4? 72? 72 lanes of belt, and then several more as fluids. Several more as fluids, so it's well over 100 tiles wide on this bus, and that's because I chose to do main bus through circuit 2s. Do not do main bus through circuit 2s. Do not do this. Do not do this to yourself. Do not do main bus through circuit 2s. Do main bus until green science, and then immediately transition away from the bus. Terminate your bus at green science and transition into any other, just not main bus at that point. Moving right along, we've got the bacolite from organic matter, phenol, zinc chloride, formaldehyde into phenolic boards into PCB2. We've got coal dust into silicon into wafers that'll be used up above in several spots. Some methanol from acetic, not from acetic acid. We've got methanol, we've got acetic acid, we've got zinc acetate. Transition into train. I didn't do trains, not on this map. Transition primarily into bots, because green science is when you get bots. Speaking of which, hello Tholens. Hello Tholens, nice to see you. Screw it, get that. Must move faster, bots must move faster. Gas processing units, the reason why you needed stainless steel first. Needed for the p-doped, n-doped, heavy n-doped silicons. Iron oxides for the ferrite. Diodes here. Lots of tin. Lots of tin gets used in the form of tinned cable in the production of circuit 2s. We've got microchips. We've got transistors. We've got inductor 2s and capacitor 2s and resistor 2s and circuit 2s. So, hello, circuit 2s. Welcome to the party. And then blue science. Chemical science packs. Yay! Once you finally get circuit 2s, you'll have blue science, because you'll have everything that you need for chemical science packs once you do get circuit 2s. And that is the number one point where people quit Pyanodon's mods. If they ever make it to circuit 2s, they don't progress beyond circuit 2s. Most people quit before circuit 2s, without realizing that everything after circuit 2s is simpler than getting to circuit 2s. The getting of circuit 2s is the most it's the hardest part. It's the hardest part. It involves the most work of anything, by design. Because once you have everything that you need for the circuit 2s, everything else after this, a lot of it is just scaling. There's not a lot of new things. Once you get circuit 2s, you get access to level 1 modules as well. And then this is where I did my transition into bots. So here's my bots. My glorious, beautiful bots. And then we get into the termination of the bus and the mall. So all, like this whole section here, like this is mall, just my mall, bot-based mall. All of this is mall. Here we've got tar production and coal gas production in particular. This is primarily coal gas. And then this is primarily saline water. That goes into other things. I ended up doing circuit 1s on my main bus. How much capacity on the bots? As upgraded, they hold like 4 items. Let's see. Base of 3 on the Mark 1s, base of 4 on the Mark 2s, base of 5 on the Mark 3s on the cargo bots. And in terms of how many I'm using, in terms of how many the base is using right now, I have approximately 9,000 robots free of Logibots out of 28 grand. And then construction bots, I have like over 3k of them in this base. Slowly but surely, these bots are upgrading from Mark 1 into Mark 2, and the Mark 2 are very slowly being upgraded into the Mark 3s. Let's see, I mentioned wanting to talk about the drilling fluids at some point here, but I think I will start with... I'll start with that. So the drilling fluids. If I can find them. Drilling fluids? Here. Drilling fluid 1 require... Well, all the drilling fluids require this stuff called guar gum. Guar gum... I can find a spot where I'm making guar gum. Where am I doing that again? Here. Guar gum is made out of guar. Various recipes exist for the guar gum plantations. I'm using the very basic recipe here. That's basically just soil and sand. Soil, sand, and water. To make guar, you process that into seeds, and then that gets processed into guar gum. And I made this nice little blueprint here that gives me plenty of guar gum. And that gets used in drilling fluids 1, 2, and 3. Drilling fluid is not required for copper ground boring. And there is a reason for this. There's a reason why I suggested not having drilling fluid as a requirement for copper. Because drilling fluid 1 requires copper ore. So drilling fluid 1, copper ore, guar gum, water, lots of sand to make the drilling fluid 1. Drilling fluid 1 is used to ground bore iron. Remember what I was talking about with needing iron for drill heads, iron and steel from iron for drill heads. So iron uses drilling fluid 1, as does tin, titanium, and a couple other things. Lead, I think. Lead also is a drilling fluid 1. So those things are fine. You're going to need to get some silver going into drilling fluid 2. You'll note that there is a progression here. So copper is lubricant and coal gas to feed into the drilling fluid 1, to feed into the iron and the lead in particular. That will feed in the lead through the silver that you get out of it. That will feed into drilling fluid 2. Drilling fluid 2 requires collagen, guar gum, hydrogen chloride, ethylene glycol, and boric acid. So boron is another thing that's a drilling fluid 1. So we have drilling fluid 1 getting used for boron as well as for the silver. Now the silver gets used in the ethylene glycol. So the ethylene glycol production is here. We've got the hydrogen chloride here. Note I actually am getting my silver through particle acceleration separately, because you can basically convert copper plates into silver, and you can convert silver to gold through particle acceleration. But just in theory, if you're doing it through ground boring, you can get your silver with drilling fluid 1. You can get your boric acid through drilling fluid 1. The silver will feed into drilling fluid 2, as well as the boron, through boric acid and ethylene glycol. And you've also got copper being used in the hydrogen chloride through the lamps that gets consumed here. So there's your lubricant as well being used on the copper. So there's the by proxy copper input. Collagen. Zip-Pure processing for collagen. I used to have 2 of these. This used to be this. Stonewall. Where was that? Stonewall. This used to be bigger. Stonewall from lots of gravel, from lots of creosote, wherever I put the creosote anyway. Yeah, Zip-Pure processing. Collagen. I made sure that I built it once and never had to expand it. I never had to expand it. In fact, I downsized it over time. And we've ended up with enough to complete the base as it is. As it stands. By the way, I went and I chose this, but I can totally, pick a space science tech, right? No, I can't, because you need to actually pick up the space science pack tech before you can actually get any tech that has space science. So really what I should be doing is picking up, the rockets and the thingy, and then spending, hours of just letting the game run. Anyway. So that's the, drilling fluid 2. And then the drilling fluid 2 gets used for the chromium, so there's your drill heads at that point from your iron and your chromium, and it can self-sustain as long as you're making sure that you are devoting the resources preferentially into creating more drill heads to feed the system, and it feeds back on itself quite well. Drilling fluid 2 used it for a lot of things. It's used for the chromium, it's used for the zinc, it's used for why am I blanking on this here? Drilling fluid 2. Aluminium, chromium, nexalate, nickel, and zinc. You do not need to use it for nickel. You do not need to use it for Nexlit. I am using it for Nexlit, but I don't need to. You technically don't need to do it for chromium either, because there is an alternative method for chromium. Is that UPS typical of late game Pi? Yes. Short answer, yes. Better answer, this is good. For the base that I've built, this is good. I don't know what Immortal Sniper's base ended up looking like, but Immortal Sniper did a 5 science per second build, and I think that he was down at like 15 or 10-ish in the end there. So yeah, it's I would say it's somewhat typical. I've not built this base with UPS in mind, per se. If I was building with UPS in mind, I could have probably double this, at least. I could probably be in the 40s, if not 50s, had I actually built with UPS in mind. And especially now that I can make the Mark IV stuff and I can start downsizing the number of entities that exist, and I can make level 3 modules, then yeah, I could rebuild this base to be more UPS efficient. It's just that you don't have access to those buildings yet as you're getting into the end game. So for what I have, yes, this is fine. The drilling fluid one, iron, lead, tin, titanium, borax, primarily. And then the drilling fluid 3. Drilling fluid 3, chromium, collagen. So, no, chromium. There's your drilling fluid 2 going into drilling fluid 3. Collagen, guar gum, salt, water, ethylene glycol, so silver, from fluid 1, and boric acid. So, what you end up with is your copper out of lube going into drilling fluid 1. You have your drilling fluid 1's silver going into 2 and 3, as well as the boron, or borax, I should say, going into your drilling fluid 2 and 3. And you have your drilling fluid 2 going into your drilling fluid 3 via chromium. So it's a nice logical progression in that sense. Issue, of course, being you have to set up collagen. And drilling fluid 3 is only used for niobium and molybdenum ground boring. I have not done the niobium ground boring because I had a very dense niobium patch for this playthrough. And it's lasted me the whole time. Molybdenum, I would say, is necessary. Necessary, because molybdenum ore patches by default are way too small, and you need way too much of it to not do ground boring for it. And I'll note as well, let's see, where is it? Where art thou? I will note here, you can do particle acceleration to convert chromium into molybdenum plates. This is the primary method I would suggest for making molybdenum plates, but you still need ore because you need steps of the ore processing for other necessary things. So if I go, here's iron processing. So iron processing up through high grade iron. Super steel. Super steel requires molybdenum plates through the molten phase. The molten phase requires molybdenum plates. It also requires vanadium. But alloy, super alloy, all the way down here, super alloy, this requires molybdenum trioxide. So you need to do molybdenum processing through molybdenum trioxide, which is the step right before making molybdenum plates to feed super alloy. Now, my suggestion, do your plates out of particle acceleration, and then do your processing of molybdenum and stop at molybdenum trioxide and leach some of the previous step, which is the molybdenum disulfide, the MO2S, or S2 as it's presented. I have this somewhere. I have this right here. So here is my ground boring of molybdenum, as well as production of the drilling fluid 3, which is only used here for this. I do the molybdenum processing chain up to here, and I make sure that I have the MOS2 going into a provider chest, and it stops with the MO03. Alright, so that is the ground boring stuff. I've got, like, over, like, here's NextLit processing, here's zinc boring and processing, with zinc chloride and all that good stuff. Over here I've got more boring. Here's borax, so much borax. Even more drilling fluid 1, more guar. Setups for syngas and coal gas from mushrooms, couple of those. This one's just aromatics. Setups for Relesia and mushroom-based aromatics, or flower and mushroom aromatics. Uranium processing. Oh, right, I need to, I need to put... Why are you not... am I broken again? I don't know. I might be broken again. I had some issues earlier with my thingies. No, you're fine. Just hadn't placed it yet. I had issues of, like, damaged small electric poles blocking my production of the medium poles. It was disgusting. Anyway. Moving along. This part of the base is a lot newer than the rest. You'll note that I changed my grid style layout at some point. We have uranium processing here. I'm doing uranium mining in the middle of my bus through a megamine. The megamine requires gasoline, so bearing that in mind as well. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful megamine that I can make a lot better with beacons, but anyway. Let's see, this is the one and only time that I'm doing distillates processing. So I'm converting aromatics into crude oil by adding syngas. I am then distillating it into high distillates, medium distillates, low distillates, and residual oil, getting rid of what I don't need, and then converting the low distillates into xylenol, which is used in various ore processing steps, as well as back into aromatics on the high distillates. So I'm taking the high distillates and I'm converting it back into aromatics to, like, offset the cost a bit. But it's at the cost of titanium tetrachloride and gasoline, so worth it? Not really, but I'm doing it anyway. I'm doing it anyway. This setup here is for chromite sand, more chromite sand, because I need chromite sand. I need chromite sand, and this is from soil. So when I said you don't need to do ground boring for chromium, I do mean it. I do mean that. It's just very space intensive. It takes up a lot of space to do it this way for very low output. But it's technically a thing. You can do that infinitely. Just add water to this and you're fine. Water and power, which, again, power is just water. This setup right in here, this is hydrogen peroxide. If it was operating. If this was actually operational, what is not operational here? Why no liquid nitrogen? What broke? Oh, that broke. Right. Yeah, I forgot to void my oxygen out of that. So that's supposed to be a lot more stuff. I have to go fix that quickly here. So that is more hydrogen peroxide to help with my bottlenecks up there going into circuit 3s and such. Like mushrooms. Mushrooms? Mushrooms. 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 I wouldn't be surprised if I have like, oh, I don't know, 20,000 mushrooms. Actually, how much do I have? If I do, I have 9.4K. How many buildings do I have? What does the power say on the mushroom farms? Where is it? 7.2K. 7.2 thousand. Yeah. I have a few mushroom farms. I've just a few. Just a few mushroom farms in this base. Yeah, about that. How much power? Yeah, they're the highest power usage. They beat my particle accelerators right now. Yeah, about that. That was not intended in the slightest. All right, you. Why did I forget about you? How could I forget about you? That is not the space. Come on. Why do I not have them there? This is the space. Ugh. Come on. You know what? Just there. So tailings ponds. Vent gases. In case you didn't know, tailings ponds vent gases. They vent them really well. There's the liquid nitrogen of my dreams. Yes, yes. It lives. Ah, it lives. Yes. Yes, I see it. It's moving. It's moving. It's working. Oh boy. Yeah. Hydrogen peroxide. I hate it. I hate it so much. I hate it so much. Because this is a lot of power. And it's not fully self-sufficient. Why is this not fully self-sufficient? It needs filtration media in. Else it would take a lot more space. I guess technically I don't need this filtration media here. I would just need to add a lot more destructive distillation columns for the nitrogen. What else was it? It's also a lot of, yeah, it's chromium and nickel in. Both of these are the raw resources in. that took a lot of space just to get the aromatics. It's a lot of space just for the freaking liquid nitrogen and aromatics. Like, all of this exists just for the liquid nitrogen and aromatics. Because you also need gasoline. Because you also need gasoline here in not insignificant amounts. Yeah. So this is a recipe to make light oil out of refined syngas, which I'm making out of tholins here. And it uses hydrogen, but hydrogen is just water. Aromatics for olefins to do gasoline out of light oil and olefins and more hydrogen. And the gasoline feeds into, obviously, the liquid nitrogen. What do you make out of the tholins? The tholins make a lot of things. Let's see. So here's my tholins. The first. Here's my tholins the second. Tholins I am currently using to make primarily chlorine. This is the best way to make chlorine. I'm also using it to make refined syngas, acetylene, acetone, benzene, what's this one? Ethylene? Ethylene, yep. I'm using it to make propene as well, in other places. It's just used for lots of things. Lots of things. This isn't actually connected to anything. This is supposed to be more zinc. I'm not actually connecting it to anything right now. Let's see. This is the microfiber setup for subdenier microfiber. We've got stone wool. We've got purified quartz. Okay. Out of all that quartz. So this zone, a lot of this, it goes into classifiers. So sand, this is sand into classifiers that classify and make gravel, iron oxide, and crushed quartz. I'm doing this for the gravel, but I'm using the crushed quartz as an infinite source of glass. This is an infinite source of glass through this process, so you don't need to grind more for glass at all. Or grind more for quartz. We've got more rayon. I have 2 of these setups for the rayon. Aerogel. Glorious aerogel. A setup for organic solvent up here, repeated several times. Some power, some tin processing. Oddly enough, I never did do, like, high-grade tin in this. A few, chemical plants to make plastic. Just a few. Nichrome from nickel. Lots of nickel. Up here, we've got olefins going into more hydrogen peroxide up here, as well as into heavy oil, and methanol, like lots of stuff up here. Methanol, kerosene, gasoline, petroleum, olefins, hydrogen peroxide. A lot of that stuff happens up here. Have some, zinc nano compound that I decided to do up here. We are making Relesia extract out of all of this beautiful Relesia that I had up here. Titanium high-grade processing. So, beautiful high-grade processing of titanium with the biofilm all up in here. We have better stone-based stone wool happening right in here from Mark III high-pressure furnaces, and these are full. These are full. So lots of stone wool. This stone is coming from iron. So the stone to feed these is coming from iron. Productive iron. So iron-based stone into stone wool. That was ultimately my solution to lack of stone. More lube, more acetylene, traditional acetylene, actually. So, in case you were wondering, yes, I can do acetylene without having to do tholins. It's relatively simple to do. It's just, this is more complex than just placing tholins and doing tholins. And then the acetylene is ground boring the titanium here. Over here, we've got glorious sodium hydroxide, as well as the stuff to feed the sodium hydroxide. And then here we've got more rayon between like all 5 of these. Is like just more rayon, more rayon, and more tholins. Clearly more tholins. Down here is additional processing of phosphates. Phosphate processing. I have a phosphate megamine right down here. Phosphate megamine going. That is sending the phosphates to my main bus area, so I don't actually have that many robots coming down here except to feed this on occasion for the mega drill heads for it, so that's fine. I apparently am still using a little bit of this tar. So remember earlier what I was talking about tar? Yes, I've got this, all of this for tar. It's not like high volume tar, but it's tar nonetheless, and it's been 300 hours that it's been sitting there. I've also got this tar over here. This was significantly more tar. This used to be double that, so it used to actually give like 100 units per second of tar out here. For basic resource density, that's quite good. That's quite good for basic resource density. So yeah, to say that Pyanodon hated me for the amount of tar mines that I could just place would be a bit of an understatement. Oh yeah, there was the initial borax as well. I had gone out here for stuff for the fuel, because I did spend a little time setting up out over here powerhouses to do fuel oil based power, but I realized quite quickly that these are actually more efficient, and the amount that you gain by converting crude oil into fuel oil is not worth the conversion. It's not really actually worth the conversion, so it wasn't actually worth doing in the end. No, instead I set up these beautiful things, absolutely glorious things. So these are solar powered internally, but they feed a lot of combustion turbines. This is hydrogen power for powerhouses, as well as the coke to feed it. So hydrogen plus coke through red hot coke processing of mushrooms. So we have mushrooms and water, which mushrooms are just out of water, feeding power into Mark III turbines here. These others just use the Mark IIs. I can upgrade to the Mark IIIs at any time that I so desire. So there's primary power out there. I started doing actual oil mining towards the end here. I started doing actual oil mining because I needed a lot of lube. I simply needed lube towards the end. So traditional oil from big oil derricks out here, and over here, natural gas. So Pyanodon, in case you were wondering, yes, someone has actually done mining for natural gas on an oil patch, and I am actually using this natural gas to make methane. I am actually doing the natural gas to methane. I can't believe I'm doing that, but I'm doing that. Also, more. Yeah, I talked about these. This is just molten chromium, lots of molten chromium. This is aromatics, lots of aromatics for me. And that pretty much covers most of this. Yeah, I mentioned in the last stream that I did the mining here for the crude oil because, I mean, technically these are infinite. Technically oil patches are infinite. So I can't really say that my base is has this focus on doing infinite resource gathering and just ignore that oil is also infinite. So, that basically covers it. The other things to mention, so circuit 3s. Circuit 3s are compacted in this little square for the most part, as well as like some of the circuit 4 stuff, like the silver foam here. But yeah, I've got circuit 3s up in here. It's a mess. It's a mess, but I have them. I have circuit 2s on my network out over here. We've got the optical fiber in this square. So everything for optical fiber confined into this square for one optical fiber with plenty of beacons these days, as well as the circuit 2s here. They're not really moving. I haven't like focused on feeding this internal circuit 2 production because I've primarily been focused on feeding the one on the bus right here, just because it's closer for these. Just because it's closer to where they're actually used. What are you? Oh, CERM. What? Alright. I guess I need more CERMIT. And I think I may know what the issue is. Molly! Molly is the issue. Yeah, Molly. It's always gotta be the Molly. Why is it the Molly? Gasoline! Oh joy. Oh bliss. Oh hey, gasoline. I need more of you. This is just one of those circumstances where I would probably leach excess gasoline from here. Yeah, I would leach the gasoline from here. Now what are you stopped by? Nickel! Clearly. Clearly. You're stopped by nickel. So all of that eventually. Tar. Saline. Saline. For these guys. Zipiers. Look at all this mushroom processing into stuff. It's just it's huge. It's huge. Absolutely huge. Anyway, circuit 4s. So, in this little area, we've got circuit 4s, we've got utility science, and we've got space science. We've got all three things sort of like squished in here. The only other thing would be as soon as we autosave, it's mostly squished in there, but it's also a little bit up in circuit 3s, and it's over here, because the last things to discuss, A, is the vanadium chain, which was not as painful as I was expecting it to be. We've got lots of vanadium, way more than enough to feed the base at the current production demands. Just a little bit of G1 tin to feed phytoplankton, to feed the Ziffo pools for our blood, our vanadium-rich blood, to feed this chain for vanadium. It's not actually that bad. And then the other thing is the alien bacteria to do the helium processing. So helium, which I'm doing out of petroleum gas. So petroleum gas-based helium did not even need to do any regolite processing through this whole process. How many high-tech bots do I have? That's another question. I have 28. I have 28 somewhere flying around of the high-tech Logibots, and apparently 15 of the high-tech construction bots. That's products finished is how you tell there. So 28. Interesting. I wonder if any have flashed across the screen. Oh, there's one. There's one right there. Found it. Found it. It's moving. It's moving. It's moving. It's working. It's moving a unit of stone. And I almost lost it. There. There, it's moving. It's moving stone. There it is. It's beautiful. It's glorious. Now, if only the entire base had this. If only the entire base was these. That would be great. Fantastic. It's moving. It's moving the stone down here to this. Yep, there it goes. And it takes copper. Cool. How are the bots being upgraded? Through a mod called Bot Recaller. Bot Recaller basically gives you a chest that, when you place it, gives you the ability to, like any other requester chest, to request. You put in a request for the robot, and it pulls the robot off of your network 1 per second. So whatever bot you choose on the Bot Recaller chest, it will pull from the network. So anything in a roboport, it will pull randomly 1 per second into that chest. And if you use that chest to feed the machine that's making the better bot, well, then you're upgrading your robots in that way. You're pulling them out and upgrading them. Slowly but surely. I have this here, right in here. Robot Recaller chest. If I pull this off, you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it's gonna pull out 1 per second from my network of the T1 Logibots. Same thing down here of all of my T1 construction bots. If I free a bunch of construction bots of Mark 1, it's going to slowly pull all of them back from the network at 1 per second. Every single construction bot on my network, outside of the ones that I just added into it to demonstrate, is a Mark II at this point. I managed to do the upgrading of all of the construction bots into Mark II. Have not done that thus far with these guys. So that will take a good while longer. In fact, I'm not even doing the upgrading when I should be doing the upgrading. I think I was just trying to save some resources. I don't even have the advanced small parts. Anyway, yeah, so the base full of bottlenecks, as it is. What am I going to be doing going forward? I have no idea. I consider this base complete, as I've stated before. I said we're gonna get through quantum computing and get space science, and then that's at the point where I'll consider this base complete. I've covered, like, done the general walkthrough. If there's anything you want to see, let me know now, because we're about to end off the stream for today. The tutorial that goes live later today is the circuit 4s / intelligent units, as well as utility science and quantum computing space science, all together in one video. That'll go live in an hour from now. Yeah. So, there it is. There it is, the base. Finished some retorter yet, have I? Have I finished some retorter? I doubt it. Where did I even place the thing again? See, this is the other issue. You know what? Let's be sneaky. Retorter. I have not. So, no retorter has been made yet. It is 0. 0 have been made. Oh, well. I did that here. Super alloy. Super alloy, huh? Super alloy, huh? That's big. Hello, retorter. Nice to see you. You need hot air. I sort of want to see you move. Well, there's the retorter. Just for reference, there's the retorter. Retorter, retort. Give that snappy comeback. Hot air. Any nearby? Did I don't need hot air there. Where's the, you? No hot air there. So, the assemblers versus the automated factories. The assemblers are much smaller. It used to be that the automated factories had only one module slot the whole time, like no matter what the mark level was. Now that they have like parity-ish, and actually these have more now, just with the setting that I'm currently using, these have more. They are objectively better in terms of speed and modules, but when it comes to a mall, you don't need speed. You don't need speed, and you can't use productivity, so it's better to save the space and use the assembling machines for a mall. Yeah, so I don't have hot air. I don't have hot air. Bring me those. Those I know I have. We'll do this quickly. We'll do this quickly. Give me hot stone. There we go. Do that. Why is it placing random belts? Because I tend to clear things by pushing 1, and it's just placing it. That's just how I play. Is I tend to take whatever's in my hand, place it, and then like push 1. and sometimes I push 1 as I'm placing something. So just random belts will sometimes happen, because I keep belt on 1. So whatever I had on 1 would just get randomly placed on occasion. Alright, you bring me these yet? Yes, good. Not the correct direction, thanks. Stone. Stone. What? Stone? Scusi? Stone? Ah, stone. There. Not that one. That one. Pressing 1 instead of Q. Sometimes, I think, yeah. Ah, pressured. Pressured air! Go! Do the thing. Whole 60 per second. That's not quite enough, but that's fine. Do the thing! Hot air. Move. Show us your glorious animation, retorter. Retorter, retort! Please? It's retorting! It is retorting! Shoof. Okay. It's moving. Wow, that's slow. Wow, there's no modules. There's no modules. Carriagin! We made Carriagin. It's apparently 3.3 per second. Wow. Okay, that's fast enough for a regular inserter at this stage of the game. By a little bit. Wow, 3 per second. A little expensive. Still, gasoline, I think, is reasonable out of Carriagin. It's retorting. Alright, with that, we have definitely reached the end of today's stream. I would like to thank you all for watching. This has been Otaku Showboat. I don't know what I'm going to do on Tuesday's stream. I will say that I will be streaming Pyanodon's mods still on Tuesday and on my birthday next week for Sunday. Exactly what? I don't know. I don't know if I want to continue this base or start a new one. And if I start a new one, what the heck I'm going to do for that base, because this base, the theme, the title of this series has been off the rails. In particular, because it's built without rails, the obvious, no trains, but also we were doing things that were not the intended way of doing things, as in the metaphoric off the rails as well, by doing things like ground boring as a primary source of getting ores. Like, that's not intended in the slightest. That is not an intentional thing, to ground bore for ores as a primary source of the ores. It's meant as a supplement. It's meant to be an option if you don't have a resource near you. It's meant to be an option if you're boxed in on a map with biters and can't physically get to the closest source of a resource. That's what it's meant for, but I went and I did it as a primary source. Rail-based base next, I don't know. I have to learn Rails, so you'll have to bear with me. Even though this pack of mods that I'm using, I technically have LTN installed. Like, I fully intended to use Rails on this base. I wanted to use this playthrough to learn how to use LTN, but I never did. And I chose not to use Rails consciously for this base. The thing about Rails is that they are expensive because they cost treated wood. uh, which is creosote, to make the treated wood. I looked at that and I was like, ew, treated wood, 1 per unit rail, and a lot of solder. Like, that is a lot of solder. So maybe I'll do rails. Maybe I'll do rails. Maybe I'll do... So, we have rails. Yes, but it's only tar at the end of the day. Yes, it is. We have rails, or we can do pie block, I guess. I don't know what state pie block's in right now. It's just really slow. That style of play is just really slow. I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. We'll start it Tuesday and we'll continue on my birthday, whatever I decide. But this base is officially finished in terms of the progress, I think. Like, I consider this done by having the quantum computer down. By having quantum computer down. If I do Rails, I would want to make sure that I set up startup settings appropriate for that. So I would want big, dense ore patches that are infrequent. Big, dense, infrequent patches of ore to force larger space between the ore patches to make me do rails, because that is obviously going to be the only way that I'm going to ever really do rails, is if I have to out of necessity. So making a map where I have to do so out of necessity, I guess, would be on the agenda. Anyway, with that, we are finally 100 streams in, finished with my first completed playthrough of Pyanodon's mods. My first completed playthrough of Pyanodon's mods. I am calling it. I may off screen do the rocket stuff. That I may do that off screen. But the other key point here is the clock mod. The clock mod has been updated several times, but I couldn't use it because there was a game-breaking update to the Bob's clock mod. So if I'm starting a new map, I'm going to want to update to the new clock mod, which means I will never be able to return to this save without reverting back to the previous version. So just bear this in mind going forward, that I'll actually be able to update my clock mod and use that going forward. Huzzah. Because thank you, Bob. Bobbing About does the clock mod, and yeah, released a game-breaking update for it not long after starting this playthrough. So it was like, oh, let's update the clock mod. Oh, that broke my saves. Let's revert the version. Anyway, again, thank you all for watching. If you have watched all 100 3-hour-ish streams, what were you thinking? For one, why would you do such a thing? And thank you so very much for sticking with the stream thus far through this long and arduous process of learning Pyanodon's mods. Because let's not forget, at the start of this, I had only ever played to Green Science prior to this base. I had only ever played to the point of having circuits and Green Science. I had not ever progressed to Circuit 2s, so this was the first time I have made a base that goes through Circuit 2s and beyond, all the way up to Quantum Space Science at the end. So thank you for sticking with me for this playthrough. I will, of course, be back on Tuesday with a new playthrough, apparently something that would be rail-based. So I hope to see you all then.